Hello everyone and welcome to Nerd Goblin Art. I'm Lula. I have my coaster mould out and these stickers, my goodness, I am in love with them. They recently arrived from Temu and I'm in love with them. They're like folklore-y type Scandinavian style art, and also these foils which give the impression of like an oil slick kind of deal going on. So I'm going to be putting those in the base of the coaster molds, but first I want to get on my yes gloves, which means magic. So these are going to go into the bases of the coaster molds. Now, my brain was probably not doing what I should have been doing at this time. It probably would have been best had I not had gloves on because these foils stick to basically absolutely everything. And by the time I thought about it, the thought of having to try and take the gloves off, put them back on it, blah blah blah. So shh, don't go telling me off in the comments. I know, but as usual, the foils with silicone is just crazy. So sometimes you gotta try and be as careful as you can possibly be with them. But I want them to look rustic. I don't want them to look perfect, and I'm not just saying that because my tackling of the start of this wasn't at the best, but there you go. I want them to look rustic. I want them to look deep and interesting. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm just shaking them off just to get rid of the excess of those little bits of foil. I don't want big bits of foil floating about in there. So I'm going to use some copper. This is Copper by Let's Resin, and it is a really, really beautiful colour. Admittedly, it's the first time I'm using this particular one, but I have used the rustic gold, and I think there's an antique gold one. I have used those, but I reached for this one. I thought, you know what, you will do. Part of me, a little tiny part of me, wishes that I'd mixed it up a bit and gone for two of the tones of colours, but it is what it is. This is what I did, and I'm just burnishing that in, and I'm making sure I'm going all round the sides. I don't mind whether it's the mica powder touching the sides or the foils. I'm happy for it to be this way, and I've tipped it out a little bit, but I do want some of that mica powder free floating into the resin. So I'm using craft resin today. It is a 1-to-1 epoxy, and I've just added my super sparkle white, which is available from Tracy at Mini Scenes GB. And of course, where possible, anything I've used today, I have linked in my description box. So I'm just going to fill these just a tiny little bit from the top, because as you could see at the beginning, I got those beautiful stickers. So this layer of resin needs to cure, and then I'll come back in and we'll start putting the stickers in and the next part of the make. I admittedly guesstimated very wrong once again and didn't make up enough resin for the last coaster. Well, the last two coasters actually. So off camera, I do mix up some more resin. I'm still not getting on with the measurements on these cups. Yeah, there we are. So spraying on some Isopropanol Alcohol and using the heat gun. Best as possible, and it's also a good idea, even though these are round, because you're putting things into the resin like the foils, is to use a silicone tool to run around the edges and to encourage any bubbles to come up. Spoiler alert as well, once these were cured, I should have tidied this up before doing the next step. But it's like I said, I was not engaged, so to speak. I was loving and enjoying it, but I wasn't fully engaged in, you know, my next steps, you know, like, you know, this might affect the make later or give you more work to do when tidying up. But it is what it is. It's all fine. Everything's good. It just would have been a lot easier. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, there's 12 stickers to choose from, and I have 6 coasters. I'm just using the sellotape both sides because I don't have nails and I was really struggling to get purchase on these stickers. Of course, these are UV DTF stickers, so they peel off both on the back and on the front. So you make sure you rub them down very, very well, as I'm doing here. You can use squeegees, you can just use your fingers. I use this tool came with one of my Let's Resin mixers. It's a really handy tool. I've rarely used it for the mixer, but I use it a lot for picking things up, you know, getting little, you know, the hooked end and then using the shaft, you use what you use. So it's just a case of deciding which stickers to actually use on this occasion. These coasters are big boys. They are big, chunky coasters, and they take a lot of resin, but at the end of it you get really lovely chunky coasters. And I guess, thinking about it as well, you don't necessarily have to use them as just coasters. They could be a paperweight or something like that, which I'm pretty sure other people have used them for, but I'm thinking a lovely set of rustic, Halloweeny, beautiful art, because I do really think that these images are beautiful. Now, of course, I don't know if they've been created by an artist, picked up by whatever, if it's AI, I don't know, but I love them. I love this style of illustration. I find it fun and enjoyable. I just do. So it is actually quite hard to decide and choose which ones I'm putting on these makes. If I had a load of resin at my disposal, which I do not, you know, like everybody, you know, you survive month to month, I would happily have made up, because I've got another of these coaster molds, I would happily have made up a full big piece set, because the stickers are so lovely. But there's Halloween again next year, and as I always say, it doesn't need to be Halloween for spooky season in the house of Lula, because I love the stuff and I don't see why you can't use them if you love them all year round. But that's just me. But I could use them on another project or some other time, I'm pretty sure. But it was hard. It was hard. The only one I'm not that fond of is the Gonk character. And Gonks are cute and all, but I'm like, let's leave them to Christmas. I know loads of you are going to be shouting at me, because I know a lot of you do like the Gonks. I'm just not that bothered. I would have preferred an extra ghost or skeleton or something. But that's the only one I'm not that fond of. The rest of them I really love. Yeah, so I'm rambling, I'm waffling, it's what I do, and apparently some of you like it, so I'm going to stick with what I know. But like I said, when I had put these stickers down, what I should have done was got some sellotape, because that's all it takes is to clean up the foil off the actual mold, because it looks an absolute mess, doesn't it? And surprisingly, it's not that hard to clean up with some good sellotape. And I wish, woulda, shoulda, coulda, it just would have been a tidier, demold had I dealt with this before the next layer of resin goes in. It's that simple. But I do clean up the mould before I demould it. When they're all completely finished and cured, I do clean it up beforehand, just to give me, it's easier to clean them a lot of the time when the makes are still sitting in the mould. And I think that's very true with this particular mould. Now, you can get this coaster mould from Let's Resin. There are discount codes in my description box down below for, you know, a few various companies who very kindly give us those codes to share with you guys. But you can also get a non-branded one from Amazon itself, and it is a few pounds cheaper. I am not gonna, you know, sell you short. If you can get it cheaper, a little bit less expensive, then go for it. But consider quality. That's all I'm gonna say. You know, there's a little bit of a difference where quality is concerned much of the time. So I've chosen all my stickers, and I think I'm quite happy with my selection, and I've still got another 6 sitting on the side, and as I said, I could either use them for another make similar, I could use them next year, or maybe I might find something to, you know, to do with them on a larger scale perhaps. So this is another thing I use this tool for, is just getting at the edges of the tops. Now, it isn't necessary, if you are going to be doing another layer of resin on top of these stickers, it isn't a must for you to pull the top layer off. Sometimes they are super sticky and they leave residue behind, which would be covered up once you put resin on there. But, you know, it is absolutely, you know, you don't have to. That's all I'm saying. It's just something extra you don't necessarily need to do. But of course, sometimes, I don't know, it's never happened to me when I've had to leave the tops on for the reason of, because I couldn't get them off for some reason or other. Once you've put a layer of resin on top, you can't really see any seams. So I picked these up recently from Amazon as well. Not Amazon, Temu. Apologies there. Usually I buy them in the sets of the nail art. But I spotted these and they were on sale on Temu. And again, they're down below. Absolutely perfect. Lots of different colours to choose from. And on this occasion, because as I said, I was going for rustic and a little bit of depth and difference with these coasters, because it's really cool. That's the cool thing about resin. You can make things that are pretty unique, and in general, unless you're doing like set colours, you're not going to get the same make twice, which is really awesome. So I like the idea of these chunky coasters being rustic. I've said rustic many times, but looking layered as well. That gives them a bit more interest. I know you're just putting a cup on top of them, but like I said, perhaps you're not going to use them as a coaster. Maybe you're going to use it as a paperweight. Who knows? So I've gone for the red and gold leaves, and then when I was looking at it, I thought, you know what you could do with a tiny little burst of green, just a titchy little, just a little bit of green here and there, just to break it up that tiniest little bit, because I think I've tied all these colours in quite well, and I really like how that copper mica powder kind of mixed in with the resin as well, but didn't completely cover everything up. And I did spray with alcohol before that layer did cure, and then swirl it with my silicone tool. So I lost the yes, I lost the footage of me just pouring in the second layer of the resin. I don't know. I think I took a picture and thought I was recording. This was leftover resin, and I used butterfly flower if you were interested in the colour that I used, and those those pigments are from Create and Bloom, and they're beautiful. This was one of these moulds that I had hanging around. No idea where I got it from, but I found it in one of my pouches and I thought, oh, let's do that. That's lovely, isn't it? Lovely colour. And with the second layer of the resin as well, I also added a bit more Super Sparkle White. Now, I didn't mind at all if some of the foil leaves did float. But what I was making sure of, look at the backs, I love the backs. What I did make sure of, that they didn't float and sit on the surface to cause any issues. And you can see here why I should have, and I wish I had cleaned up the edges of the moulds before the second layer of resin went in, just because it makes an easier tidy up. So I've got a little bit of deburring to do here, but I'm loving them. I absolutely adore this look. I think they are absolutely stunning. And of course, always make sure when you demold that you put your molds back to the way they were so you don't damage them. I'm actually surprised by that one. I really like it. It looks like it's trying to be an owl and a bat at the same time, which is a kind of weird, but I love weird. I live for weird. So that's fab. I even love the sides. I love how untidy they are. So I'm just going to pull out the last three, so we're not like constantly back, and then we can just look at them and admire them, their beauty and their gorgeous beautifulness, their chunky monkiness. I really do love them. Look at those. And as you can see, the leaves did move, and some of them are higher up than others, and I love that. All I was worried about was them floating and sitting on top of the surface. So that is absolutely perfect, and I really, really like them. And there's a lot of sparkle in there that the camera I don't think is picking up, but I do try. Look, if we look here, you can see that sparkle in there from the Super Sparkle White. I couldn't get the lighting good this morning when I demolded them, but it's so, so lovely. I know the backs of mould, they shouldn't be as important, but I love them, and I love making them interesting and giving, you know, the depth treatment to things. I do like this one very much. And again, plenty of sparkle in there. Look, you can see it. You can see the sparkle. And I think the autumn leaves, those little autumn foil leaves, really give it a little bit of life as well. Interestingly, which, you know, because they're all obviously undead. And there we go. So I am going to need to deburr because I was lazy and I should have tidied up before that second layer went in, but that's easily done. If you are new to resin, I'm going to show you using my deburring tool on one of the coasters, and then I'll bring you back for the next step. So you just have to be very careful. There's a block there. See, if I try to get the deburring tool through that, it could cause the rest of the coaster some damage. So the deburring tool is great on the looser pieces of any resin, and never try this when the resin is still quite soft, because that causes all sorts of problems as well. So you need your resin to be fully cured for this, so don't do it too early on. Maybe leave it a little bit longer. And when you get the harder chunks like around the side, you're going to have to move to using your craft knife. If you are lucky enough to have one of those machines that Let's Resin have recently put out, use one of those. They're going to be fantastic. And of course, you've always got the Dremels. My Dremel isn't quite that. Mine's a cheap and cheerful one. I do need to invest, but as you can see there, just very gently with the craft knife and trying to be as careful as possible. This was the only coaster that required that kind of work. The rest of them deburred really lovely just with the deburring tool. And yes, you can you can top coat if you are that bothered. Oh, and these are little extras because I overestimated all the resin for the second coat, and I added that purple. So I've got some hearts, I've got a beautiful cat that's going to be a key ring, so they're lovely. What I'm fine with is where I have deburred, I quite like that funny, it's all smooth by the way, it's not going to cut you or hurt you. That's one of the most important things. But what I like about the edging on these, because of the deburring tool, is that they look even more rustic and rough and ready. Do you know what I mean? I know what I mean, and I quite like it. So I'm just using my chrome marker. I believe this is a LOULAHALL resin one, and it is antique gold. And I'm just using it to go right the way around, and I'll do that with all of the coasters. And as you can see, it's easily done, just a steady hand. And if you're not so steady with your hands, a Lazy Susan or a turntable, anything like that is absolutely perfect. And you can just move, hold your pen in place and move your turntable, and that is really good as well. And if you make a mistake, if you go somewhere that you didn't want to go, Isopropanol Alcohol on a little cloth or a cotton bud, something like that, will see you sorted. You can always remove it if need be. So, subscribers, I'm going to take this opportunity to thank you so very much for subscribing. If you're not a subscriber, I would truly really appreciate if you would hit that subscribe. It is absolutely free and it's good for my algorithms. It helps my channel be seen, which is awesome, because in turn it means that I'm reaching more folk and I can put out more, I can continue to put out all the videos that I am. So I'm distracted. I'm distracted by the prettiness and the glitteriness. And if you can hear some tip tapping going on, my apologies. I have 2 dogs and one of them is being a pain in the bottom. Yeah, and that one just grabbed me. Yeah, one's being very old at the moment and doesn't like the younger one sitting by him and adjusting the way he's sitting. Oh, bless. Oh, my goodness. It's either the cats or the dogs, isn't it? So, it's as simple as this. I didn't feel the need to fast forward this part because I say it very often in many of my videos. We don't know who's new, who's just coming into the hobby, and it's good to show you how things are done. But I'm so happy with these. It's going to take a minute for them to dry. The chrome markers do take a bit longer to dry, but I love them. Which one's your favourite? I really love these. They do take a lot of resin. I'm not gonna lie. That's why I didn't want to top coat them, because there's already a lot of resin. But it works. It really does work. I wonder what your favourite one is. If you've got a favourite one. I'm thinking the skeleton one is probably my favourite. I know there's like 3 skeleton ones, I do apologise. I think this one's my favourite though. I don't know why, it just is. It looks like she's walked down a path of gold copper. It's lovely, of the copper path. Just a quick note, I have checked and these particular stickers are not currently available, but they may be soon. But in the meantime, I will share a link for something similar. Love you and stay weird.
Her fingers dance like spiders spin, crafting worlds from deep within, with resin drips and clay that bends, a goblin's touch that never ends. She's the whimsical nerd goblin, casting spells and always wobbling. Spooky sparks in the Halloween air, weird and wild without a care. Paint-streaked hands and a crooked grin. She starts with